Welcome to The Non-Writer, where I tell stories from the avant-garde. Today's story takes me to my local tavern, where I saw a band describing itself as experimental rock. Before we get started, just a quick reminder to subscribe to The Non-Writer on Substack. I'll put a link in the description below. Substack is where I publish all my stories, and it's free. I'm also going to start publishing my videos on Substack so that my subscribers can watch them without having to sit through ads. I'll still be publishing on YouTube to reach out to people who don't subscribe and hopefully convince them to subscribe over on Substack. And if you're already subscribing, thanks a lot. I appreciate your support. Today's story is about a band called the Hominoids and how I ran into them at my local dive bar, Winter's Tavern. I don't always run into experimental rock bands at Winter's Tavern, but when I do, I try to reach out to them and find out what they're all about. And that's what I did with the Hominoids. So get ready to meet the Hominoids and hear their version of experimental rock.
He did it. We don't know.
Oh, yeah. We were trying to come up with a name. We had a series of terrible names, as all bands do. And I'm like, what are my friends like? Sasquatch. You know? So I looked at the scientific name, you know, the taxonomical name, whatever you'd call it. And Hominoids came up, and I thought, the Hominoids, because we're doing more surf-centered at the time. Sounds like a cool surf band name. And it's stuck. And it's kind of I don't know, it's a fun name.
I like it.
Yeah.
It works. It works. 5 years?
5 years?
Maybe?
5-ish?
I'd say 5.
And it's always been you four?
Oh, it's 4 for
Yeah,
Hominoids, yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'm Nick Rossi. I play trumpet and saxophone in the band, and
Pocket trumpet is a
pocket trumpet, yeah. And
Is there
my
any influence there with the pocket trumpet?
I mean, I like Don Cherry. Don Cherry, of course, I like Don Cherry.
I was waiting for that.
He's the guy.
But really, it's I mean Miles Davis and Archie Shepp and like Eric Dolphy. I mean those horn players. I don't know. That's my influence, but largely Miles Davis, 70s Miles Davis.
Yeah, my name's John Clifford. I play the bass in the band, and
5-string bass.
5-string bass. That's right. And you know,
Not a 6-string.
not a 6-string. No 6-string here. Thank God. Influences, like big fan of like Michael Henderson, Dave Holland. In terms of like non-bass influences, like love like Lewis Cole. And Buff Correll is another big one. Yeah.
I'm Jordan Zadowski. I play drums in the Hominoids. I mean, my drum influences, it's hard to answer, but I like everything from, you know, people like Dave Lombardo, Slayer, you know, everything from him to jazz players like Jack DeJohnette, more obscure bands like Zoo's drummer, I think is really good.
Oh, I was gonna say Massimio.
Yeah, the guys from Zoo, I think Zoo's
Massimio Papillo, that's
a
one of mine.
bit of an influence.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a Finnish band that I like. His drummer's pretty good. I'm bad with names, but just any sort of, if you hear a band that's got like weird...
Jacopo Battaglia.
Jacopo Battaglia from Zoo. I don't know the guy's name from Alman Vassarat. But, yeah. Whoever played with Bungle, too, he was pretty good.
I remember that guy's name, Danny Hefsman.
Danny Hep, yeah. Something like that. Yeah, people like that.
Okay, yeah, my name is Jake Furman. I play guitar. My influences for guitar, I would say a lot of just, I love Bo Diddley, Link Wray, and then I like just some crazy shit like Sonny Chirac. And then I like some of the 60s guitar players that are often overlooked, like Stacey Sutherland from 13th Floor Elevators is fucking great. Sterling Morrison from the Velvet Underground is an amazing guitar player that no one ever talks about. And just shit like that. That's like some single coil in your face guitar playing that I can delve into and absorb. And I want to elaborate on the Zoo, because we all went, when we were seniors in high school, we all got fucked up and went to a Zoo concert. It was Mike Patton singing with Zoo, and Zoo's typically a trio, and it blew all of our fucking minds. And I feel like that was a big catalyst in when we started making music. So it's like, I have not seen a concert that fucked me up as bad as that.
If anyone doesn't know Zoo, Z-U,
Check it out.
Check out
Italian
all their
band.
albums.
Super fucking amazing. Super good.
Yeah, we saw them at Great American Music Hall, and Mike Patton was just babbling on vocals, and it was insane, and it fucked all of our brains up, and we've
Never recovered.
been a downward spiral since then. 2009. We have all known each other since
Wait, give them the...
Yeah, go ahead.
So Jordan, us three have known each other since we were 4 years old. We all went to Catholic school together.
Yeah.
San Domenico. That's
why we're all so fucked up.
That's why we're all so fucked up. Went to Catholic school together. So I have no memories of my life before Jordan, except maybe one or two.
Yeah.
And then John was out of San Domenico for a while, came back in fourth grade. So my first.
You guys have all known each other for...
We met this guy in high school.
I met him in high school, but we go way, us three go way back.
Yeah.
This guy's a little bit of an outsider.
But I love this boy though. That's right.
Nick, what was it like coming to meet us in the band?
Oh, it's scary, you know, with these guys who are playing so
Hey,
long together.
So okay, here's the thing though. Like Nick, remember when we went down to
I'm
Santa
grateful
Cruz?
you let me toot my horn. with
That
your
was
bands.
very fun.
Yeah. Oh, when we bonded.
That was like
the trip to Santa
the
Cruz.
ultimate bond,
Hold
dude.
on, I gotta elaborate on this story. So there's a kind of interesting aspect of this story where before we even knew Nick, his really good friend was someone that we went to Catholic school with that was a year older than us.
Oh, yeah?
That just ended up being his good friend before we ever knew him. So it's like when we ended up hanging out with him, it was really like,
Marin is small.
it was like, you should have been at San Domenico because your other good friend went to San Domenico. He knows everything about San Domenico, but he just didn't go there. But it's just kind of interesting that we ended up playing music with this guy that was good friends.
We would jam acoustic guitar all the time when we were teenagers.
Yeah.
And that's how we became friends. That's how I got my foot in the door.
Yeah. No.
And it stayed there.
And Nick hasn't been playing horn that long. I mean, in retrospect.
Yeah, he's a good.
And he plays saxophone and trumpet very well, and it works really great with our sound.
Yeah, for the most part.
I actually really prefer the.
Along with various other whistles and
Yeah, he's got to
Percussion.
get the quick out.
yeah, he plays cuica sometimes. You got to play the cuica more. That's fun.
Yeah, Flexstone is my jam.
I mean,
Music that defies classification.
yeah.
Rock and roll inspired, surf rock-ish inspired, but heavily experimental.
We try to meet the deity when we play, you know? Try and like get
Whatever form the deity takes.
we get really into it.
But we are just like, I mean, we like to fuck around and have fun, so the easiest way to do that is to say we're experimental.
Yeah.
We
It's
don't-
about fun.
I mean, genres are so encapsulating.
Yeah,
it's
you
like,
can get boxed in if you say you're this band or that band or whatever genre.
at least when you say you're experimental, they like back off a little bit and they're like, okay, they're
Yeah.
doing their weird little experimental thing. We won't intrude with too many probing questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, the important thing is we play music that like is like wacky, you know. We try and get weird with it.
But
you know what
people
I mean?
enjoy it. That's the most important thing. And we
I mean,
enjoy
some
we
people
enjoy it more
enjoy
than
it.
anybody.
But I do think we are rock and roll centered in the sense that we want to have a beat and we want to have
Yeah.
something that people can thrash around to and bang
Yeah.
their head against something to. Because that's what it's all about. I mean, if you lose that, then what do you got?
What are you doing? It's very improvisational. Somebody makes a strange experimental sound, and then somebody else adds on top of that. We literally come to a practice or a writing session with very little, if no ideas, and just see kind of what happens.
Yeah, we often just jam. We will come to the studio. We play in San Rafael, and we just show up and mess around and then record it. And if something clicks, then we build upon that and we try to
Listen
it's
back
like-
to recordings. If something sounds good, we elaborate from there.
And it's
Yeah,
like
it's usually like a iterative process. So like I'll come up with a bass line, or Jake will come up with a guitar line, and then we do it and we go, oh, that sounds cool, and then Jake will do something, and then like maybe even like fucking 6 months later, like we'll be playing it and Jake will come up with something else, and it'll be like, oh wait, that sounds fucking great, and like the song will take a completely new turn, you know? Like it's always just like completely changed by like new input, you know?
Yeah,
like,
and it's very collaborative. Very fun for us to be that collaborative.
I would say that we very rarely show up with like a full song formed, you know? It's like maybe an idea or a motif, and then we jam on it and elaborate and see how it goes, but it's very rare that we have a full song and like, learn this motherfucker, like.
Use of improvisation.
Yeah.
So, how much improvisation ends up in your
In the
song?
songs of very much of this ton of the song is well, you'll have like a riff, and then we know we play it for a certain amount of time, but in that we improvise a ton, especially this guy. That's why it sounds like shit.
Shut up. So in like the end result, like when we play like in a show, like very little is improvised. It's usually like only the solos are improvised. But when we come up with stuff and we're like gelling and things are like becoming, they're going from like the glue into the like the cement, you know what I mean? Like then that's where the improvisation happens. Like it goes from fucking weird silly putty into like straight up like really hard glue.
Good job.
Yeah, exactly. But there's still some improvisation, but it gets solidified, you know, just like Gorilla Glue.
How long we can mess around at a certain spot before it changes, you know? So we'll kind of know when we're gearing up to change, and then we just kind of feel it out. I mean, that's how it's best. It's like if we're trying to count something, it's gonna get all fucked up. But if we're all just feeling the vibe, that's when it works.
Yeah, that's why songs can kind of sound different. If you see us in two performances, the same song might be kind of slightly different from one performance to the next.
Do you run into other like-minded bands much when you're gigging or playing around? I mean,
No,
It's
no.
a good
really.
question.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't.
good. Not really, but you end up identifying with bands that aren't totally like you.
Yeah.
Like we like the band that came right before us, Can't.
And they were straight punk rock, but they had a great energy, and we love that.
It's like when music comes down to it, for me at least, it's just energy, and like if someone fucking has the energy, I'm gonna like it, and that's all it comes down to. Genre, whatever the fuck, doesn't really matter. It's just if they got their heart in it and there's energy, I'm gonna like it. So
yeah, that comes through the music. If you can tell they're having a good time, they love it.
Do you know any other bands that you would consider experimental that are in the
Check out the Wyatt Act,
Yeah, the
man.
Wyatt Act's
The Wyatt Act.
The Wyatt Act.
Played with them.
They're very good.
They're very good, but it's a different type of experimental. I mean, they're
They
more
add a little
vocal
more
oriented.
comedy. They sing and they add a little more comedy into their music. It's very good.
It's different from us, but we work well with them, and they're a great band. So.
Also, check out the band that just played before us tonight, Can't. They're
Yeah,
sick.
Kant was very good.
Fucking dope. They're not very experimental. They're just kind of like a straight up punk band, but they're sick, man.
Lyrics though too.
Yeah, that was
He
cool.
was improvising
Yeah,
lyrics,
dug
so
that.
that's experimental in its own.
How much gigging are you guys doing now, and where have you been playing?
Not
Where do you
not
like
nearly
it?
enough,
Pretty much
man.
here, yeah.
Not nearly enough.
We're gonna
And here again.
Yeah,
we're trying-
we're gonna set out a bunch of emails this week and get some more shows.
any-
Trying to get
venues
more and
wanna
more
have it.
shows, but yeah, we don't have a
Terrible
lot right now.
promoters out there.
We're terrible promoters. Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also like, like it's tough to get shows when you're not like a fucking, rock ass.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Wasn't that why
the
we
nature of
started?
being experimental makes it a little bit trickier to find the right place.
It's like, I don't know. For me, it's mostly like Winters has the right attitude
Yeah.
because they're not charging a fucking cover. And it's like when you charge $10 for a cover and make people pay $10 when you can just get that money back in a drink. It's like it's this whole
guys get political.
this whole pathetic live music process that's not called for. It's like don't have a cover charge, just sell some drinks and get people in the door. I mean,
So was that gig I saw you play in December your first gig here?
No, it's like our fifth.
We played before
Fourth
COVID. We played here a
that was
handful
our
of times.
first post-COVID gig.
First post-COVID gig at
How
Winter.
did you get on Witch's Tavern's
We
radar?
just emailed them.
Dude, CJ is the best. We emailed him and he
When
got
was
back.
the first time we played at Winters, though?
It was July 2018.
Is that the July
Jake
4th?
marked it down in his fucking calendar.
Yeah, I think it was July 2018 is when we first played her.
Yeah.
And we
I
dressed
don't
up.
know why,
It was
but-
on 4th of July, and we dressed up in hard hats.
Oh yeah.
And monkey
Yeah,
masks.
it was a July 4th show. Yeah, that's right.
And
We're
and then
supporting America by dressing in hard hats.
we started the show by playing "Born in the USA" through my ring modulator.
Yes.
But it didn't go over well. I don't think
People
anyone
didn't seem to understand
no
it.
one
You
knew
gotta
what was
take a
going on.
chance.
Yeah, no one knew what was going on.
Yeah, no one really understood it.
It's the last time I ever bought hard
Springsteen
hats.
fans,
Yeah, I mean, I don't
don't
know.
get it.
We've had a great relationship with Winters, man. It's a fun spot.
Yeah.
I love Winters.
Winters is great. I mean,
One
Winters
of these
is.
days we'll give back to Winters.
Somehow.
But you can't like when you're just emailing hella places and you have nothing to go off of, and you're like, "Hey, listen to my music. Can we play there?" And someone responds and they're passionate.
Yeah.
It's like that's fucking that's
the right energy.
That's when
Yeah.
the seeds are planted, and that's what
Usually-
CJ does.
We're on Spotify, Instagram, Bandcamp, all that stuff. Hell yeah. The Hominoids.
Hominoids,
If you want to find us, you can find us. Yeah.
Monster of the Mekong, yes.
That is our new album that came out 2 years ago.
3 years ago.